Hi everybody, welcome to my channel Frugalisama. My name's Sam. This is where I talk about all things sewing. And today is day 7 of my Vlogmas with a twist, where I'm looking at how our sewing practice can help us have a more sustainable Christmas. So I'm doing this alphabetically, so today I'm looking at letter G, and I'm going to be looking at gift wrap or gift bags, if you like. And I thought we'd first of all start with some not so festive fun facts again. So apparently in the UK we use the equivalent of 227 miles of gift wrap over the Christmas period. That equates to 4 rolls per household, and that would be enough to wrap the island of Guernsey. Pretty shocking, I think, is that. But the worst thing about that is it equates to about 108 million rolls of gift wrap that just go into the bin, or to landfill, shall we say. Mostly because a lot of gift wrap can't be recycled. That's either because it contains plastic, glitter, or it's metallic, or your local council just doesn't recycle it. So you need to check with your council if it can be recycled. And if you want to test whether you can put it into recycling, whether it's paper or not, if you can do the crunch test. So if you get a piece of paper like this, screw it up and it doesn't come unfurled, then it's paper. If it starts to unfurl, then it's got plastic in it. Now I've lost all my notes. So yeah, it's a bit sad really, but I think as sewists we've got a solution. You can just use plain paper, just plain brown paper, get your kids to decorate it, tie it. We've got loads of bits of ribbon about, we've all got lots of this that we've probably saved from other projects. Tie it with ribbon, tie it with nice jute string, decorate it nicely with some nice holly, or you could even do a nice fabric gift tag that Ruan showed in her video recently. I've done one of those. I'll show you mine that I did a couple of years ago. Or you can use fabric just to wrap up. We've got loads of spare fabric as sewists kicking about. The Japanese art of, I think it's pronounced furoshiki, but sorry if I butchered that. That is different ways of wrapping fabric around gifts, and it is a real art form. It's beautiful. But the other alternative is to make our own gift bags. So really, really easy projects these. Can whip them up in next to no time, an hour. This is made from an old dress of mine. I've just done this afternoon just to demonstrate that how quick it is. And I've got a little tutorial for this at the end for you to make some yourself, but really, really simple. So you can make them any size you want, and you can make them in any fabric you want. The tutorial that I'm making them in, I'm actually making them as produce bags, but it's exactly the same principle. So these are the produce bags that I make. And the reason why I've put it together is, although there's nothing unusual in the construction method that I use, what I've done is I've got 6 out of a metre of fabric. So I'll show you how to do that. You will need a metre of 150 centimetre wide fabric. If you're using a quilting cotton, you've got to know that quilting cotton tends to be a lot more narrower, so you'll probably get less out of it, but it's still the same principle. You'll need to make sure, if you want your bags to be biodegradable, that they're made of cotton. So this is a gauze. This one's just a cotton lawn, gingham. Excuse me. And if you do want them to be biodegradable, then the thread that you use needs to be a cotton thread, and any of the ties that you use, this is ribbon actually, so this won't biodegrade. So you remove that, or you use a twill, or just use a self fabric and make little self fabric ties. So the tutorial that I've got, I'll show you a couple of methods for sewing them. So if you've got an overlocker, easy peasy. I also show you how to do French seams in it. I'll show you how to do a boxed corner, because in my experience your vegetables that you're going to be putting in aren't flat. So a few things to learn there. So there's your box corner. So it gives you a nice wide bag. And if you don't use a specific Christmas fabric, so if you can use something that's got a gingham on that I showed you, or some stripes. This again is an old dress. Oops, this is an old dress that my friend brought. Some nice stripes. It still says festive, but without actually saying Christmas. So here's a nice sort of velvet. This is an old fabric sample. It still says nice and festive. You're upcycling something. Just a plain red, something like that. That's a fat quarter. But yeah, all these zigzags are quite nice. I think these are quite attractive. So then they can be reused, either for giving gifts in or for keeping things in. Think of Lego or small toys or things like that, or keeping your produce at home if you want to keep your onions in or your potatoes in or something like that. Extra bonus points if you can find an old duvet cover that you can make it out of as well. The ultimate recycling, you'll get thousands of little produce bags out of those. Maybe make yourself some Mars bags or other matching accessories out of it as well. You'll get quite a lot out of a duvet cover. So a really quick project to put together, and I will include that video at the end of here so you can watch it if you want, and I will put it in a separate video as well so that you can get back to it quite easily. So yeah, I think as sewists we've got an easy solution to the wrapping paper problem, and it's sewing one of these up is quicker than a trip to Sainsbury's to buy some more, I think. Let me know below if you've tried the Japanese art of folding fabric. I'm not going to even try and say it again. Or if you make these little gift bags, and if you've got any other designs. I think sometimes we try to over-engineer things. I mean, there are all sorts of different tutorials for doing this, but I think this is one of the simplest and quickest methods. So don't forget to like and subscribe, leave me a comment below, and I will speak to you later. Bye. So for the produce bags then, I've got 1 metre of fabric, and it seems to me like it's 100% cotton gauze. If you want your bag to be biodegradable, then try and make it out of cotton and try and sew it with cotton thread. And if you're using something to tie it at the top, a cotton twill would be ideal. If you can't find a cotton twill, just use what you have. Use some ribbon or something like that, because you can always take the ribbon out and get rid of that. It's usually got polyester in as most satin ribbons, so don't worry about that. But if you want it to be biodegradable and washable, then 100% cotton is ideal. And also with the cotton gauze, it's a little bit see-through as well, so that anybody in the shop can see what you're buying. So, out of 1 metre of fabric then, 150 wide, I can yield 6 bags. So that will be 1 large, 3 medium and 2 small. And one of the, if you don't want 2 small ones, you can divide that into 6 really, really small ones and have like a little tea bag ones. So if you're wanting to use loose leaf tea and you don't have a tea bag for a teapot rather, for example, then you can divide it further into those 6 little ones. It's entirely your choice what size you do. This is just a suggestion for sizing. If you're not interested in the cutting part of it, I will put timestamps on and you can just fast forward to the sewing of it. But they're just suggestions, the best use of 1 metre of fabric that I've found. So what we're going to do is I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see what I'm doing, and we're just going to start by folding the fabric in half widthways, so not from selvage to selvage, but from end to cut end. Start off with your fabric all nice and squared off first, and just bring your ends up together. Make sure it's nice and flat. So making sure it's as square as possible, then you're going to cut off about 45 centimetres from the edge, 17.5 inches. Just going to take a marking tool, marking pen, mark it at the bottom and the top, and then I'm just going to whiz across with my rotary cutter with this. Obviously use scissors if that's all you've got. That's your first cut, and that's for your large bag. So next you're going to unfold this. You don't want the ends to meet, so you want it about 8 inch down, which is about 20 centimetres. I've just put some little marks there so that I can see, and we're going to cut off that top bit here, and that's going to form your 2 smaller bags or your tea bags, and then we're going to divide this equally into 3. I'm just going to knock that off. So we're just going to cut that in half and then the remaining bit into thirds. The easiest way to cut that in half is just fold it in half. Just folded it, giving it a finger press, and then we're just going to go straight in with that blade. And when you sew it up together, then you'll have a bag, like 2 bags like that. Or like I say, you can cut them further into little tea bags. You're going to divide what you've got left into 3 and then just cut them as straight as you can.
that's your cutting. You've got 3 medium-sized ones, 2 small ones, and the one that you cut first, which is your large one.
Okay, so they're all cut out. There's a couple of ways to sew these up. You can do French seams. If you've got an overlocker, you can use an overlocker, and you can put box corners on them as well. So I'm going to show you just how to do the French seams. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to work out how to do the overlocker one. I'll show you how to do the boxed corner as well. But for all of them, what you want to do is start off with the top of your bag. From the top of your bag, measure down 2 inches, which is about 5 centimetres, and about 3/8 of an inch in, and just put a little mark on both sides. What we're going to do is put a little snip in there to that 1 centimetre mark, or 3/8 of an inch mark. So you're going to wrong sides together, not right sides together if you're French seaming. Obviously with this fabric there is no right or wrong side, it's all the same. But if you've got a fabric that's obvious, that's a wrong and the right side, wrong sides together, and you're going to sew from the bottom up to the top on both sides. That will be at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, so that's it sewn up. Try to use a contrast thread so you can see that now. So that's at a half an inch seam allowance. There's your little notch. You're just going to trim that down by about half now, and then flip it through to the other side, right side, and give it a press, and then you're going to sew that seam again. So that's it trimmed down by about half, and I'm just going to go and give it a press. Okay, so it's all pressed, and whilst I've ironed it, I've turned these bits at the top under as well. So we're going to go back in, and we're going to sew back down the same seam at 1/2 inch again, and enclosing that raw seam that's on the inside. Flip it out, and that would be on your outside. So we're enclosing that raw seam there. Right, so I've sewn that other seam there, flipped it round, and given it a good press, and whilst I was at the iron, I've tucked these little seams under as well, double, and I'm just going to put a line of stitching on there, so that's four times on all 4 sides. And also whilst I was at the ironing board, I've pressed under about 3/8 of an inch centimetre at the top of the bag, and then again down by about 1 inch under there, and that's going to form the channel for your ties. Just edge stitching both of them all along so that I can get a tie in that channel there. So that's the sewing part done. We've just got a square bag, 2 little channels at the top that opens out, and putting that notch in at the beginning makes it a little bit easier to do that, and that's all sort of finished off nice and neatly. It's all tucked under and sewn underneath. So all that's left now is to insert whatever method that you're going to be using to fasten it. I suggest cotton. I don't have enough of this to complete all the projects, but that's better for breaking down. But if you've only got ribbon, just use ribbon. Just make sure that your ribbon isn't any wider than the channel that you've made. So if you're using what you've got, make sure that you leave your channel wide enough. And I've got a little bodkin here. I'm not going to bore you to death and show you me struggling to get it through, but I'm just going to demonstrate how useful a bodkin is. So this one, it grips at the end, and it's great for threading elastic and what have you. Just grab it at the end like that, slide the slider down, and then it just grips it like that. And then you just feed it through your channel. And what I find, the only problem with this is that that little disc can get snagged sometimes. So if you're threading it a long way, it can get snagged. But I just find that it's a lot easier than the pin method and some of the other bodkin methods. So what you're wanting is you're wanting 2 lengths of ribbon, and each length needs to be 3 times the width of the top of your bag. And you're going to put one in one way and tie it, and then you're going to put the other one in the other way and tie it. So I'll come back and show you what I mean by it. So I've got one ribbon inserted. As you can see, it wasn't quite 3 times, but as long as it comes out either side, it doesn't matter. So instead of going in at this side, now I'm going to go in at this side so that it ties, it comes round that side and I can draw it in. Okay, so really simple project. I've got ties in each side and it closes up like that. And your French seams gives it that extra security if your fruit and veg is heavy. You'll get apples, lemons and oranges in there, half a dozen or so. And yeah, just a good size is the medium size, I think, and it just opens and closes. So the only thing to do with that now is to label it, weigh it and label it to say how much it weighs before you actually go and purchase your fruit and veg, because otherwise you're paying for the weight of your bag. To add boxed corners then to your bag, you just need to remember that you're going to be making your bag wider. You know, you're going to have some girth to it in order to get all your spuds in or whatever. But once you've done that, you actually lose a little bit of the height. You have a bag that's 14 inch tall instead of one that's 17 inch tall. What to start off with is you're going to come up from the bottom by 2 inch or 5 centimetres and in from the side by about 6.5 centimetres, which is about 2.5 inch, and draw yourself a box like that. And the reason why this one's longer than that one is because you've got to allow for your seam allowance. So do that from both sides. And then just go in with the scissors and chop that out. You're still going to sew your side seams the same as you did before. You're only sewing from that notch down to that cut there. Okay, so once you've finished your side seams, whichever way you want, either over on the overlocker or French seams like I've done, then you're going to finish your box corners. So you should have the bottom of your bag there, which will probably have a bit of a slight crease in it. The corner looks like that, but when you open it out, so putting your side seams to the bottom of the bag, you'll see that it just sits nice and straight like that. And you're just going to sew 0.5 centimetre across there. So I'm going to put some pins in so you can see where I'm going to go sew. And you're just lining up where the crease of the bottom of the bag would be. As long as it's straight, it doesn't matter. There we go. So I've got my pins in there. I'm going to sew, this is wrong sides together, so the bag is the right way out. So it's wrong sides together. We're going to sew 0.5 centimetre there, flip it the other way around and sew 1 centimetre. Okay, so just to demonstrate, that's where it's been sewn, and then I'm just going to grab that corner, pull it through to the wrong side. So you can see my French seam there. I was just doubting myself that I got the wrong side there. And then again, we're just going to go back in there, give it a press first, go back in there and then sew at 1 centimetre. Okay, so I'm back. We've got the second seam there, that's my French seam from the side seams. Done the same for the other side of the box. And this is inside out, so we're just going to flip it the right way around. And you can see that we've got a bag with really nice bottom, so it gives you plenty of girth to get all your taters in. And I've already finished the top, just ready to put the ties in like I did before. So you've got a really nice wide bag to get lots of produce in there.